Hey everybody, Christopher Moonlight here, and today I want to talk about criticism, and I also might want to talk about how I think we can fix the Star Wars franchise, but I might get to that in another video, so I'll figure out that and what the this video is going to be called after. But it was a very interesting experience after posting a bunch of my videos about Alien 3 and how I subjectively and objectively, mainly objectively, believe them to be not good movies. Now, the response to that was very interesting because I got a lot of positive response. A lot of my comments on YouTube were positive. Comments I got in groups that I posted in were positive. Some were weird, especially when it came to my Newt video. Anyway, well, we won't talk about that. But it was interesting to me the manner in which I received negative feedback on the videos. And it really kind of, I'll just say this. I think I finally figured out what toxic fandom means. And I originally kind of assumed, and again, this isn't something that I really engaged in regularly, so I didn't give it a lot of thought, but I originally assumed that maybe toxic fandom was referring to dissatisfied fans who were very vocal that they didn't like something, and maybe people were saying, well, like, we're just enjoying it, why do you gotta butt in and ruin our good time? And I do see some of that. I see people that kind of have to, come in and tell people that they're stupid for liking something, and I would never do that. I don't think that that's necessary. But what I really have come to learn is that there are toxic fans in any franchise, and I also think this kind of bleeds over into anything else. It's just a personality trait. I actually don't believe it has anything to do directly with a fandom. It's just something that's in human nature that's unfortunate. But in this case, toxic fandom is when people feel that they have to control the narrative 100% within the fandom. And these people are bullies. They are not good people. They are essentially trying to use a fandom to get people to submit to them. And that's what bullying is all about. It's about submission. Pretty much anything in history that you look at where one group of people is treating another group of people wrong or poorly, they'll have a reason that they say that they're doing it, but really that reason is just a scapegoat for them excusing wanting to get these people to submit to them. So in this case with the Alien 3 video, I realized that the people who were angry that I dared to criticize Alien 3, they didn't actually listen to my criticisms, or if they did, they didn't have anything to say about them. They just said things like, oh, you're a bitter middle-aged guy, you are arrogant, you are, you just got to let it go, you got to realize that, it went in a direction that you didn't like, and other responses are things like, the later stuff, people worked hard on that, and you're disrespecting that work, and you need to realize that these professionals know a lot more about this than you do. And that, for me, like, okay, hold up a second there. All right. There is not a professional class of people who automatically know better than you just because they worked on that movie. I do actually happen to work in movies, and I've worked in comic books. I've worked as a writer, I've worked as a visual effects artist, and I have directed stuff. I've directed my own film, and I've directed other content for people. I've worked as an editor. So this idea that there's somehow this elite class of people who just know better than me. And therefore their product is superior and I'm just not grateful for it, is just, that's classism. That's ridiculous. The idea that there's an elite class that is superior to me and nothing I can say or do will ever match what they have to say or do. That's absolutely wrong. That's, don't even get me started on that. That's ridiculous. So that argument goes out the window right there. And even if it didn't, there are people who watch movies and understand what make them good. And then they go to their jobs as an accountant or a mechanic or working at Walmart or whatever. There are people who understand what makes this good. Also, you have to take into consideration, yes, someone came along and worked very hard to make a sequel. But if that sequel retcons or destroys what the people before it had built, then what about them? Aren't you being disrespectful to them by that logic? Does new always equal better? Now, I've also seen this in Star Wars. People have said like, oh, you just don't like the new Star Wars movies and you're disrespecting all the hard work and the new characters. And this happened with Mark Hamill recently, who he retweeted an image. It was a Photoshop composite of Lando, Leia, Luke, and Han all in the Millennium Falcon together, with the hashtag missed opportunity. And he got attacked for that. People actually said that that was racist. Somehow that was racist. So now this is like an alt-right racist meme. And that is just, again, there is no validity to that argument whatsoever. Matter of fact, I saw a tweet from the person who created that image after that comment was made to Mark Hamill saying, no, I'm not on the alt-right. I'm just a fan who wanted to see this. And apparently Mark Hamill wanted to see this too. And we know Mark Hamill isn't racist and alt-right. So, I don't like to get political. So that's all I'll say about that. But again, those comments weren't made out of any form of sincerity or concern about Star Wars or politics. They were just comments made by psychopaths who wanted Mark Hamill to be submissive to them. You said something wrong, Mark. And then they go along with a kind of the feeling of like, hey, I got one over on the one and only Mark Hamill. I have power. I'm a powerful person. Well, again, it's not about at this point, that's what toxic fandom is. It's not a fandom at all. It's just a toxic attitude of people who want to have it over on you, want you to be submissive to them and their kind of whatever psychosis they're going through. That's wrong, and that's ruining the enjoyment for other people. Now, going again going through the thing about attacking people that have an opinion that you don't like. If somebody has an opinion that you don't like, even if it has validity to it, if you like that thing, it should not ruin your enjoyment of it. If you're worried that it'll ruin your enjoyment of it, just avoid it. You don't have to listen to people's criticism. If somebody posts a review video giving some objective criticism of something, it may be that the next time you watch that film, that objective criticism leaks into your consciousness and suddenly you start to see those flaws and maybe you enjoy it a little less. Now, for me, I believe that's a good thing because if you have a higher standard, when something truly good comes along, you will have a much greater appreciation for it because it's more of a rarity. And when something is more scarce, it becomes more valuable. So the experience of a good movie becomes more valuable to you. You won't waste your time with bad movies. There's a lot of bad movies out there and you are wasting your time with them. And you're giving money to people who will just continue to make bad movies because they assume, people just want substandard quality and we can get away with giving them that and make lots of money. No, I don't want to give money to people for creating a substandard product or piece of art when we can indeed have better things. There could have been much better sequels to Star Wars or Aliens or anything else. But people just kind of crank out this garbage stuff. And if we don't say anything about it, that's all we're ever going to get. And I guarantee you the quality will continue to diminish if you do not say something. So I think that criticism videos are wonderful. They are a wonderful way of saying, you know, like, and I gave this example to someone and they're like, you can't compare art to food service. It's just a metaphor. Okay. I'm not making a direct correlation between these two things, but it's going to say, if you go to like a burger place, they had like really good burgers. I went to Red Robin and they had a burger that had an egg on top of it, and I'm not supposed to eat stuff like that, but I ate it and it was delicious, and I can't stop thinking about that burger. It's been months. But if I go to Red Robin, because I love that food, and then suddenly they like just start serving me McDonald's, like they just went to McDonald's and got me a burger and charged me the same price for it. And then I said, hey, this is a McDonald's burger. I don't like McDonald's. I don't, you know, I expect better quality from you guys. And they go like, hey, we're the burger experts here. Don't tell us what's a good burger. We'll tell you what's a good burger. Well, I'm just not going to eat there anymore because I came for Red Robin and I got McDonald's. I can go get McDonald's myself if I want it. I don't want it. Same thing with the movies, you know. For me, Alien and Aliens are near perfect movies. Alien 3 is not. And every movie that came since then has had varying levels of quality, and I've gotten some enjoyment out of them. But when you hold them up next to the first two, you see what's missing. You feel the difference. And the same goes for the new Disney Star Wars movies versus the originals, or even the prequels. I mean, you know, I think that, you know, people have their complaints about the prequels, but I think overall they were fun movies, and they were kind of able to stand on their own without, and this is very important, without doing anything to hurt what the originals were. Not saying like, hey, we're completely, you know, disregarding, you know, future events and we're just going to do our own thing. Like, no. So, you know, yeah, just stop. And you're allowed to say, hey, these burgers suck. If someone starts, and the next table over says, hey, these people know about burgers. You know, you're being arrogant. What do you know about burgers? It's like, I know that I don't want to eat this burger. And I know that, you know, you can eat that burger if you want, but don't act like, don't pretend to me like you're enjoying the same flavors that you came for as well. So this is the thing. This is why in my original video I said it's time to stop pretending that Alien 3 is good, because there are a lot of people, I think, they want so desperately to have the franchise be perfect, to have it be complete, that they'll start kind of telling themselves. Somebody said, was it Muller? I forget, is it Muller? I really like his YouTube channel, just really long review videos where he just like scene by scene, moment by moment, like really kind of hammers on the foundations, hammers on everything, and sees if it holds together. And if it crumbles apart, he'll go through the rubble piece by piece and show you why it crumbled apart. But he said, stop. You know, when the audience starts having to write the script for you in their head to excuse stuff or to, you know, come up with reasons, you've already lost, because the audience shouldn't be doing that work. That's your work. They shouldn't be going to additional material or anything like that. Anyway, I have a good idea about how you would fix Star Wars, by the way. Because Muller. I'll link to his YouTube channel in the description. Anyway, you know, going back to Star Wars for a moment here with the whole Mark Hamill thing and the missed opportunity, there is a way to fix this. And it's kind of dumb. I'm going to say this right now. Like, this is something that I think you would really have to pull it off in a very clever way to get away with it. And I know that the Rise of Skywalker is about to come out. So there's no way that this fix can be implemented. This is just me saying, like, hey, if somebody said, hey, like, you're writing and directing Rise of Skywalker or whatever you want to call it, how would you fix this? And this is going to be the surprising thing. This is kind of funny to me, but Rian Johnson actually supplied the element at the end of The Last Jedi that would fix this. So, those slave kids, here's what you do. You get those slave kids at the beginning of the first movie, and you realize that they are telling the story of somebody's coming by with a leaf blower. Isn't it always the way? I'm getting into this, a leaf blower goes by. Okay, so hopefully you can't hear that too loud, but here's what you do. Those slave kids are telling a story, and that story is The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. And some kid, they're like in a little prison area or something like that, kind of a dungeon. And there's some guy like, in a cell kind of listening to them talk, but he's in shadow. And those kids say, they're telling the continuation of this story. And, we go through the movie, whatever it is that J.J. Abrams is doing. And, at the end, one of the kids says, like, are you sure that's true? And it turns out these kids they're Force users or something like that. And maybe they've been enslaved because they have the power of the Force. And maybe there's some people that, I don't know. Details, schmeetails. But one of the kids says, are you sure that's true? And yeah, that's true. This is what happened. Like kids do. They tell stories and they embellish and they make stuff up. And then you hear a voice come from the shadows. And you hear, that's a nice story, kid. But that's not quite how it happens. Oh, by the way, there's a battle going on, like, outside. Like, they're telling it, like, there's some space battle going on up there. And maybe that's why the kid's telling the story. Oh, this space battle's because this, and this happened. So you conclude the film with this space battle kind of raging out there, and the kid finishes the story. And you from the cell, that's a nice story, kid, but it's not quite when it happens. And that person gets up and comes out of the shadows, and it's Han Solo. He didn't die. He just died in this kid's story. And suddenly there's like an explosion and some sparks fly and the door opens up and Luke comes through with his lightsaber, and Rey can be there too. She can still be a character, but it's just her story is a lot different than this kid told. This kid just heard some stuff and put this story together in his head using bits and pieces of what he heard and told this dramatic story. But, Luke comes in and some other Jedi, and Chewie's there, and Lando's there. And, maybe we can CGI Leia in there, too. I don't know. I don't know how you want to do that. And then from there, you can tell a new trilogy. You're open. Okay, we wiped that slate. It was an entertaining story, but it's just these kids telling it. And now the next trilogy will be, everyone's back. These kids maybe get enlisted in Jedi Academy. So if you are enjoying if you're enjoying listening to me talk about toxic fandom, or if you're hating me talk about toxic fandom because I'm talking about you, I'm sure you're blowing a gasket that I just suggested that we do that. So anyway, I think I've gone on long enough. I think I've made my point. I could talk about this forever, but the truth is this. Feel free to criticize things you don't like. Feel free to point out when you think they're wrong. Be smart about it. Sometimes it can be fun to if one person likes something and another person doesn't. You can razz each other. You can roast each other like it's like different sports teams. That's all in good fun. You're still enjoying the game, right? But you don't need to attack one another for having different opinions. But you should be able to criticize. You should be able to say, I don't like this or I like that. Because that is how we learn. And there's a lot of filmmakers out there, fans that turn into filmmakers or other kinds of storytellers. They'll learn from it. They'll learn what to do, what not to do, what the audience likes, what they respond to, and utilize that to tell good stories. And they can take it or leave it, whatever information they get out of it. But, you know, we do need to have the right to criticize. It is not a bad thing. And if you do criticize and somebody attacks your character instead of your criticism, you know they're just trying to make you submissive to them, to control you. And that's sick. That's a sick, evil thing that leads to other bad behavior. And those people need to take a look in the mirror and figure out why they are the way they are, because that is wrong. So anyway, thanks for listening. As usual, like this video, hit the notification bell, subscribe, share it with your friends, and leave a comment. Tell me what you think of this. All right. Aliens, Star Wars, whatever other franchise, we can only see what happens next and hope for the best, right? Later.